All right, welcome back, Florida Football Insiders Podcast. Now to the Florida Gators, a tough loss up in Knoxville Saturday night. And person who covers the Gators day to day for us for the Gainesville Sun, does a terrific job on all the beats of Florida athletics. Mr. Kevin Brockway rejoins the podcast. Appreciate you coming by, Kevin.
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. First off, everything okay with you and the hurricane up in the Gainesville area?
Yeah, we made it through okay. As a matter of fact, Helene was probably a little worse than Milton in terms of the damage caused here. But it was more tropical storm conditions here for Milton. But certainly, you guys down in the Tampa area, feeling bad for you guys. And what are they going to do about the raise? I guess obviously with
Yeah.
uh, the roof being torn apart there at the Trop, that's
It,
really.
Yeah, that's been all the talk the last several days in the sports world here is, what are they gonna move the part of the home game somewhere else next year? They're gonna put because obviously the ballpark has been approved, and I don't know if the city wants to spend all those dollars to redo the roof and then obviously not to be there in a couple years. So yeah, lots of questions to be answered in the next couple of months for sure, I would think.
Yeah,
So
you can make an open air stadium, I guess, really, for the last few years, but you'd probably have a lot of rainouts there.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of afternoon rain. So yeah, that was part of the issue with the new stadium and all that the debate. So yeah, we'll see what they end up deciding to do. But yeah, tough situation for sure with the Rays and because people don't realize that the stadium was being used as a humongous staging area for all the first responders, and there was people in there and there were things and all kind of stuff. So that kind of ruined that whole thing. So that was multiple issues in one. So. All right, let's get to the football field first. You were up in Knoxville, correct?
Yes, I was there for the game. It was quite a game and a lot of twists and turns, and obviously a lot of mistakes in the red zone in the first half that really came back to bite Florida in the second half.
Let's talk about the atmosphere. For those that don't know, just give me a sense of the atmosphere up in Knoxville when Tennessee's got a good team. It's a rivalry game with Florida, another team they've had issues, they've had a big rivalry at the last 30 years or so. Just talk about the atmosphere in Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville's one of my favorite cities, because it's along the Tennessee River. You walk along. I did that a little bit before the game. You have the Vol Navy out there. Everyone is hyped up. And as you probably maybe saw on TV, they do a neat thing at Neyland with the seats where they have different sections wear white and orange, and they create this kind of checkerboard effect throughout the stadium. That's really cool. So, yeah, the fans were hyped. They were into it. It was certainly loud. It was a night game, obviously night kickoff. So fans were pretty riled up, and certainly for that Josh Heupel offense. But there were actually a few boo birds here and there because they've been
Right.
struggling offensively in the last few weeks, and that continued a little bit against Florida. You can credit Florida's defense as well, but ultimately they left the stadium happy with an overtime win.
Yeah, let's talk about Florida a little bit. Florida's defense has played better in the last couple of weeks. Played really good against Central Florida, shut them down. And then again, a very good effort in Knoxville. Obviously, you get to the end of the game. Florida's winning until the middle of the third quarter. Tennessee scores a couple touchdowns. The game gets tied. Florida has an opportunity. They tie the game, or yeah, they're down seven. They score to go down one. What was the sentiment in the press box late? Do you go for two? Was that the sentiment in the press box? Or do you think that, Billy made the right call? Because remember, there was about a minute and a half left in the game when all that happened. You think it was the right call to ultimately go kick the extra point and not go for two? Because remember, they line up in a swinging gate formation, and I believe Tennessee or was it Florida that called the timeout?
No, Tennessee called the timeout there, and it's interesting because Chris Lowe, national writer for ESPN, he's sitting next to me. He was adamant that Florida should go for two in that situation. I was a little more, I could see both sides of it because I do think Florida's defense was playing really well. But that being said, I think the way it worked out was, they showed the play, Tennessee called timeout, and I guess they didn't feel confident enough that they had another play that was a sure thing. So they decided to kick the extra point and go for overtime. Listen, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I did write a column though that Billy not going for it kind of continued this risk averse trend.
Yep.
Hasn't been very endearing to Florida fans. I think they view him as they've always viewed him as a very conservative guy. And this was the guy that came in, remember, scared money, don't make money. But this is the guy that also kicked 5 field goals in the red zone against Charlotte last year. This is a guy who runs basically an offense that's more reliant on horizontal passes than vertical passes. So it was just another one of those decisions that you make that maybe not as bold as, but I think that tells you a little bit about where Billy Napier is as a coach. Louisiana 4 years ago, he had it rolling. He had that bravado that he knew that he could, get that 1 yard run in that situation. And now he's, coaching scared, and for obvious reasons, obviously with, the results being what they are, 14-17. So it's just another example of, kind of the Charlie Brown tenure of Billy Napier. If anything can go wrong, it will.
I was shocked only because there wouldn't have been a person in the Florida fan base that would have said a word if he'd have gone for two and didn't make it and they lose by one. They would have probably, like you said, they would have admired him for doing that, for being aggressive. Again, there's a difference between being aggressive and reckless, but in this situation with all the pressure on him, I was shocked he didn't go for two there. Because again, you beat Tennessee and you maybe win another one of these 2 games down the road, maybe you save your job. But boy, just being and plus, if the odds were that Tennessee was going to probably move the ball a little bit, they didn't end up getting in field goal range. But boy, I was very surprised that he didn't go for two there.
Yeah, I could see, and I guess the book says on the road you go for two, right? But I think, he kind of explained if it was a 47-47 game, the way the game was going, he probably would have definitely gone for two. But the fact that both defenses, let's not forget, Tennessee's defense has been playing really well. He
Sure.
certainly carried the day in overtime. And I think the Vols, was an interesting stat in the press box. This is the first time since 1969 that they've held their first 6 opponents under 20 points. So
Wow.
that's a pretty good defense over there. They showed it over the course of the game. Certainly. But I think Florida fans are, certainly more frustrated with Billy Napier. Obviously, with some of the red zone calls, the 4th and inches when you line up in the shotgun and try a jet sweep, and then also the field goal situation at the end of the half, again indefensible. Can't have 12 guys out there.
Right.
Had those problems last year, so those things are very frustrating. The fact that Florida only was up 3-0 at the halftime and easily could have been up 13-16-0 in that game.
And the last thing I'll say, and we'll move on, is if Florida's in contention for the SEC title, you play for overtime, no problem. But they're not going to be in the SEC conversation. This was the kind of game where you can again reestablish maybe not reestablish the program, but boy, make a stamp nationally. Hey, we went into Knoxville, won the game. We were aggressive. We went for it, and we won the game. So I was just disappointed in Napier, given his tenuous job circumstance as it is, that he wasn't more aggressive. So, all right, let's get to the injury on the field. Graham Mertz obviously hurts his ACL, done for the year. It's now DJ Lagway's job. What are the couple things that you're going to see, you think, moving forward that you really think DJ does well, and maybe some things that they're going to maybe stay away from?
Well, DJ's got an electric arm. He throws the deep ball very well. He's got obviously some dual threat ability, although we haven't seen him run as much as maybe I thought we would. But at the same time, I think this opens up. But I think they've moved him along really nicely here. The way they've done it in terms of having him come in for certain series during some SEC games. Obviously, he started the Stanford game and had a huge game, but that was Stanford. But the one thing you look on his ledger, 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. We had heard, throughout fall camp that one of the things that was holding him back a little bit was some of his decision making. So obviously, and in the SEC, turnovers can be so, critical and crucial. I think that's going to be the big thing is can you take care of the football? Obviously, that first play he comes in the third quarter against Tennessee when Mertz goes out, he throws an interception. So things like that, when you play every down in the SEC and these coaches, and Mark Stoops is a very good defensive coach.
Yep.
A lot of different wrinkles at the kid. He's going to have to take care of the football. I think that's going to be one of the keys for him going forward. But he's got all the tools. He can, make the throws. He can make the deep throws. You've got a nice stable of receivers that have some speed too.
Yep.
Amir DK and Elijah Badger and now Trey Wilson back. So you're going to have an opportunity to take some deep shots. And I think if Florida's smart and this coaching staff is smart, they will try to take advantage of those opportunities and maybe stretch the field a little vertically with a kid that's his strength.
No doubt, no doubt. Is he a well-liked guy in the locker room as far as everybody? I mean, obviously, he's only a freshman. We get it, pretty young. But is he a guy that everybody's going to galvanize around? Do you think?
Yeah, very humble kid. Someone that when we talked to him after the Sanford game, somebody I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders, a really good level of humility, which I think is important in how he handled the situation with Graham Mertz and how he was very respectful of Mertz and talked about learning from him. I think he's got that ability, but again, true freshman in the SEC is tough sledding. I mean, we saw the redshirt freshman quarterback from Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, right? Or if I butchered his name, I was trying, last 2 weeks, but Nico, I mean, he's struggling right now in the SEC too. So for young quarterbacks, this isn't the easiest league, and I think he's going to have some growing pains, but he's also got the ability to kind of rise to the make big throws as well. Certainly, he did on that DK touchdown to tie the game and send it in overtime.
All right, and as I'm going to get to the schedule here because the schedule gets brutal here for the Gators. After you got Kentucky this week, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss the next 5 weeks. And this is a huge 6 weeks, 6 weeks for DJ because say what you want, if there's a coaching change and he plays well these last 5 or 6 weeks, he may be the most coveted free agent in NIL in the NIL market come this offseason if he decides that's something he wants to explore. Who knows? Then who knows if but this could be a very lucrative 5 or 6 weeks for DJ Lagway.
No question. And I think, Billy Napier's future is tied to DJ Lagway, right? Like, I think if DJ Lagway goes out and he shows promise and maybe they win a couple of games, maybe they, beat Kentucky and beat FSU and steal a win against Ole Miss or LSU in the swamp and become bowl eligible at 6-6, and Lagway shows a lot of promise, I think there's a chance that Florida can keep Billy Napier at 6-6 because the fact that you don't want to lose this kid, you don't want to lose DJ Lagway, and he's tied to Billy Napier. So I think this injury is interesting because even if Florida had struggled and lost to Tennessee, you could have made the argument to even bench Graham Mertz and play DJ Lagway the rest of the year, just see what you've got for the following season. So the injury kind of necessitated it and made it so. And now here's a chance for DJ Lagway to show what he can do, and for and if he does, and they do decide to move on from Billy Napier, then yes, I mean he's going to be a guy that is going to command a lot on the open market if he decides to go that direction.
Yep. All right. So schedule again. This is must win for Billy against Kentucky. I mean, you're not going to probably beat Georgia. You're probably not going to beat Kentucky. I mean, Texas. Could you beat LSU or Ole Miss? One of those two, maybe. But you're probably looking at best of the next 5 games. If you beat Kentucky, maybe 2-3. If you don't beat Kentucky, you're potentially looking at 0-5. I mean, just talk about how important this game at Kentucky is. Again, from the fan base's perspective, and probably from the confidence of internally with the confidence of the program.
Yeah, and I wrote today, it's amazing how the script is flipped, right? From 86 to 2017, 31 straight against Kentucky, and now they've lost 3 in a row against the Wildcats. They're 2-4 in their last 6 against Kentucky. Which is pretty amazing to think about. I guess the good news for Billy Napier is, he's not going to have Ray Davis in his nightmares anymore, right? He ran for 280 and also had a big day for Vanderbilt the year before. Liam Cohen, who was the offensive coordinator last year at Kentucky, now is down with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So it's a different Kentucky team. But Mark Stoops is still a grind at defensive coach. They're going to be a physical team. They're going to come down here, play with a lot of physicality, play with a lot of toughness. They're kind of desperate coming off the 20-13 loss against Vanderbilt. So I expect it to be a close game, but I think Florida's going to find a way to pull this one out. It's homecoming. It's at the Swamp. Obviously, DJ Lagway is going to have to limit the mistakes. I think that's going to be key because I think back to 2 years ago when Anthony Richardson threw that pick 6 in the Kentucky game, and that was crucial. So for this game, if DJ Lagway can kind of play well, limit the mistakes, and the defense can continue the upward
Yep.
couple of weeks, I could see Florida pulling this out at the Swamp and getting back to 4-3 and maybe creating some good vibes for that brutal stretch that'll be coming after their second open week.
So yeah, you're right. Kentucky's not going to go out and score 35 unless Florida gives them a bunch of a couple of
Yeah,
those points. So it should be a defensive oriented game. You shouldn't have to score probably more than 24 probably to win. So that's something that's probably manageable
let's
there. All right,
let's
last,
not forget too, Jason. One more point that in addition to losing Graham Mertz, they also lost Montreal Johnson, who I guess we're hearing is week to week. We're going to find out more tonight, but that's another blow to the running game too. At one point in the fourth quarter in that game, you had a true freshman quarterback in DJ Lagway handing up to a true freshman running back in Jaden Baugh.
right.
That kind of tells you they are right now from an experience and banged up. So it's certainly not going to be easy, especially if Montreal Johnson's out for that game as well.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, last question. I'll get you out of here is obviously Napier's future. Obviously, have you gotten any indications that there potentially could be a move in season, or do you think this is going to run out to the end of the year before they make a move?
I
If
think they
they
want
if
to
they
give
make a
Billy,
move, obviously.
yeah, I think they want to give Billy Napier every chance to finish the season. That's the latest that we're hearing is that they want to give him the benefit of the doubt. They want to see if he can make a bowl game. Certainly, if they lose against Kentucky at home and homecoming in the Swamp, and it's a loss, that's going to create a lot of noise in the system. But I do think their feeling is, as long as the players are playing hard for him and there's not a lot of opt outs, they're going to try to roll with it until the end of the season or until it becomes so toxic that that maybe they have to make a move. But you worry about that. You worry about the opt outs, the redshirt situation as well.
Right.
You don't want it to go that south. So we'll see. I think it's a week to week thing with Billy, but I think certainly this is another crucial game for his tenure. I mean, I think he's got to find a way to win this one.
Couple names again that obviously you're going to hear names and a couple names. I think if you're a Florida fan and you're interested in this guy, it helps. As a guy like Lane Kiffin's already lost 2 games at Ole Miss, so the odds of them going to the playoff are getting slimmer and slimmer by the week. You've heard the name John Gruden. You've heard some other people. It's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out, not just in Gainesville, but in other places around the country. If teams start to lose, those names potentially could be, become candidates if the Florida situation becomes untenable. So, all right, Kevin Brockway, great work, man. Appreciate the time. You can find Kevin Brockway's great work at the Gainesville Sun. You can find Kevin on Twitter at Kevin Brockway G1. Definitely follow him there for all your Florida football action. Any updates with basketball? I know they're getting started here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, SEC Media Days, they open against USF, excuse me, Tampa team in Jacksonville in early November. So it should be pretty interesting for Todd Golden's team. Number 21 preseason top 25. First time they've been ranked preseason top 25 since 2019, and picked to finish sixth in the SEC in the media poll. So out of 18 teams. So Todd Golden has done a nice job with that program entering year 3.
Cool. Well, great work, Kevin. Keep it up. You got a gauntlet you got to cover here, but starts Saturday in the Swamp when the Wildcats come to town for homecoming. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you.